Hey everybody, it's the big guy Scott Ferrara. I got Rob the Hammerschmidt over there. There we go. Let me give you the double. And as always, it seems like we have our buddy Rick, the Jakl King Collins, formerly of the Jakl Den, formerly supporters group of the Dallas Jackals, formerly. We got a lot of formalies here. But Ricky, welcome back, brother.
Yeah, appreciate it. Always glad to be back, despite the reminders of my former fandom.
Always has an opinion and is always happy to share it, and is always full of knowledge. So
exactly. I don't even have to be on the show. I'll just give you my opinion in public.
He will. But episode 206, we recorded 205, and then that got messed up, so we had to go do it live. And then life happens, and as most of you or some of you may know, I do have a special needs son, so sometimes things get in the way. So I want to give Hammer a shout out and Rick for joining us today, despite my schedule being fucked up the past 2 weeks. So I really appreciate it, fellas. And we're good to get back with some content. We just posted the Oliver Gilpin interview. Oliver is a director of brand creative Pain over at Free Jacks. It's a really good interview with him and Rob. We have an interview coming up with Scott Lawrence that's going to come out. And then I think, who am I missing? Mitch?
Mitch Short from the Chicago Hounds.
Chicago Hounds is coming up. So we got a bunch of stuff coming out besides this. And always check out Girl Meets Rugby. Go check out the website.
And one more, I'm working on Sam Gala. Spoke with him last weekend. I know Rick would be interested to get that one out there. So we're going to work on Sam Gala as well.
That's perfect. Gotta love it. We're actually getting right into kind of the topic for this week. But what we're going to do first is, Rob, why don't you let everybody know who was the week? What was it? What was this, week 8?
Well, let me do week 8 and week 9.
Yeah.
So we had interestingly, week 8, Hildy Schoeman, and she's South African. What we didn't know, and I apologize to fans, is we didn't know that Macron couldn't ship overseas because they are an Italian brand and they have lots of representation over the countries. Nevertheless, Hildy graciously said, give it to somebody who deserves it. And we gifted it to, I think he got 4th. It was tied for 2nd or 3rd. Young 4-year-old Wilson Loban. From California. It is Pierce Loban, who does a lot of work and content work on our blog. It's his son, and he is ecstatic. He will be getting a Rugby Rant hoodie to sport around his schoolyard.
Gotta love
week 9, Julie Eggert. She's a Utah Warriors fan, so congratulations. Sweet. She is excited to get a little bit of sweet merch.
That's awesome. Went 1 for 4. Got my dick kicked in. Gotta love it.
Yeah, that's where I was at.
So, but before we get to the topic, let's hear from our sponsors. So real quick, Rob, I think you want to tell everybody about a little party we may be going to.
Yeah. So, I just had a conversation with Scott Lawrence, who'll be coming out next week. And one of the concerns was, hey, the Eagles are playing the same day as the All Blacks Ireland game. Poor planning. Actually, not so much. If you're in Chicago, you can check out Reggie's. It'll be opening early in the morning so we can catch that Eagles game against Scotland. And then you can join us at the Rugby Rant. Scott will be in the house with the Hammer, the second time ever. He'll be staying at Casa Hammer, and we'll be partying down at Reggie's, because whether the weather is complete shit or whether it's pretty good, we'll be carrying on the party. Good. And then Reggie's will take you to the big show at 3:00 at Soldier Field. It's going to be a party. Join us at Reggie's. It can't be missed. It will be an absolute blast. We're going to have some great guests joining us up on stage. So, kick it with the Rugby Rant podcast show. It'll be the first time ever we've done a show live, I think, in a party atmosphere, Scott.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be fun. So if you're coming out, come to Reggie's. Jasmine and Chris Rivera, I think, are going to be coming out.
There you go.
Dan and Sheila Falcon, I believe, will be coming out. And there'll be a
They
bunch
will.
of people there.
Yeah.
So come on to
And Rick
Reggie's and say
Collins
hello.
took himself up for a couple days, and then
Rick Collins is still paying for his honeymoon and his wedding from last year. Poor guy. He's on the payment plan. Trust me, I've been there and done that. So, but so what we're talking about is the 2025 Eagles extended squad has come out. In DC, there's a 3-match series. Well, Charlotte and DC, 3-match series. We're playing Belgium, Spain, and then England in that double header in DC, which the big guy's going to be at. Get your tickets now. And Rob is kind of, in speaking with Scott Lawrence and doing extensive work on Moonshot 2031, kind of came up with this idea about kind of going through the roster. So, Rob, if you want to kind of give the breakdown.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about those July tests, and then don't forget in August, September we have the PNC. So we know we're playing Canada, we know we're playing Japan, and then TBDs, 2 more TBDs later, and then of course that match in Scotland in November. So we've got a pretty good set of tests for the Eagles coming up. Scott does talk extensively about that, so catch that next week. But basically, it's like this. So first of all, let's set the table here. They announced a 70-man larger training roster. That will be whittled down to 30. I got confirmation from Scott tonight on that fact. And so we're going to take a look at 2 things. Number 1, representation from each team in that 70-man roster. And then number 2, if Scott, we don't know what he's going to do, and he certainly wouldn't tell me, but let's just say that 30-man roster, how many props, how many hookers, how many, et cetera, we'll go through positionally. Based upon that as the blueprint, we're going to each identify who we think will be in that 30-man roster, and then we'll go from there. So let me break down 2 things. First, Chicago, six players. New England, 2 players. OGs, 6. NOLA, 6. Miami, 3. Anthem, the biggest representation of 10. In the West, San Diego, 9. Houston, 8. Utah, 2. LA, 2. And Seattle, 6. So we see pretty good representation. I think Scott said there are somewhere between 6 and 8 players that are either in college or playing in Europe that are not on MLR teams. So that gives you an idea of representation, where they come from, where they ply their trade. And then you go down to last year's 30-man roster. What did that look like positionally? We're going to select 5 props, 3 hookers, 4 locks, 4 flankers, 1 8-man, but we know that locks and flankers can interchange in there too. 2 fly halves. Sorry, I forgot 9s. 2 scrum halves, 2 fly halves, 4 centers, 3 wings, and 2 fullbacks for a total of 30. There it is, folks.
And that number was 10 of MLR players on the list, players selected for the extended squad, not in the MLR. They're either playing in college or playing internationally, professionally. Just want to give you an update.
Yep. So we're going to start first to prop. We're going to go around the horn. We're going to give our first choice to Rick Collins. He's going to identify his prop selection, and I'll try to record these, but I probably will screw something up here.
Perfect.
So we're going number 1s. We're going loose heads first.
Okay.
Yeah. So my loose head props. I think Iscaro has more than earned it. His performance over the past couple of years playing with the Eagles, he's clearly gotten in good graces of the coaching with Gold, and then now with Lawrence. I think he's, they thought he's, a prop of the future. And I think he's proven that now he hasn't been amazing, but he's done more than enough to earn the spot, that spot at starting loose head. I think Talea off the bench as a second loose head prop. And then my third would probably be Mon, but I'm actually just going to carry 2 loose heads going in.
He's going to cheat. Okay, Scott, what do you got?
I am cheating.
Well, I think Iscaro is your starter. At least Belgium and England. I have a feeling that Spain match is where we're going to see some changes. Maybe they put Lindenmuth in there if he makes it. That's kind of how I would do it. Maybe do like Turnbull and Lindenmuth in the Spain match. You know, I would think it would be Jack. It would be Jack, Jake, and Lindenmuth. I think Talia. It's you have so many guys at a certain age right there that are kind of all together.
Yeah,
that's the problem. So you're gonna have to leave one of them out, and I truly feel like you gotta bring Ezekiel Lindenmuth up a little bit. You gotta start blending some of these new guys, and this is his first selection to the extended squad. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Gotcha. Okay, so we'll review all this positionally. First of all, I want to say real quick, I felt that any player selected here had to be in that age window for 2027 to be realistic. Yeah. So when you start pushing 34, 35, you start to begin to question whether there's somebody who's going to be in the larger squad for 2027.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think all those players that are pushing that, your Fawcett's, your Dolans, your Mahoney's, like it's more of get them in a camp to bring the young guys along.
Yep.
So that's how I would feel it.
But you also never know if you're going to have an injury or whatever.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You've got an experienced guy there who even at 36, 37,
of course, absolutely,
at those positions can still do it.
Absolutely.
And by the way, that's something that Scott recognized in that interview, not to reveal too much. So good portion of this roster needs to be in the picture age by 2027. So they need to be right around, the max 32, 33 in 2027. So you're talking about 30 years old right now, maybe 31 at the outset. And then we need some portion of grizzled veterans. So based upon that, here we go. My choices at Lucid. Iscaro, Talea, and Anu.
Okay.
All right. Now let's go to tight head. All right. I'm going to start with Scott this time. What do you got at tight head?
Here's okay. Again, I'm going on a basis of the starter for Belgium will be the starter for England. And right now, I think Paul Mullen will be that starter. I think he's doing well in New Orleans. I think the change of scenery has done him some good. Again, if he could slap somebody in the face from Belgium and get a red card, that's fine with me. I think we gotta show some fight here. We gotta put it. And Scott Lawrence probably hates that I said that, but honestly, I think we need to bully teams, and I think if we can get away with that, fuck it, right? 20-minute red card now. I would probably say Mullen and Davis only because that England match, the Spain match is a must win, or excuse me, the Belgium match is a must win. The Spain match to me is the one where I'd say, like I said, you could play with your team a little bit, your team sheet, and then the England one is a must win, but we all know what's going on there. But you still have to put out 100%. So, but I want to go 3. Put it Kofi, Tonga Kofi. I mean, again, another guy who is gonna have this is his first selection. Like, I bleed him early, right? That's where I'm at right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, Rick, what do you got?
All right, so this is the reason I'm only carrying 2 loose heads is because at starting tight head, I'm putting David Anu. Mm-hmm. He can go both ways, so great option if you want to start Mullen and you don't want to go with Iscaro, you can go with David at loose head. And you've got to have him on the roster. One, he's one of the most internationally experienced props that they have, especially playing over in Europe for club rugby. And then the fact that he can play both loose head and tight head. And I believe he's actually thrown a line out once or twice.
I think card dependent. He has thrown a couple lineouts.
Yeah. So he's a super flexible guy and clearly is high enough quality playing over in France that I think he's
also one of the younger guys where I feel like in this cycle, maybe you don't.
You're saving him? Is that what you're?
Well, in this cycle, when you have a couple of young guys, or a Pono Davis who's got his start late.
I
Why
think
not,
there's also the risk of trying to bring over some of the European players, especially from France. Is going to be tough to bring them over under contract because these aren't qualifiers. So you're probably for sure going to have them in the fall. This may be one where you're not going to have access to them, so you could go with other options. I think I've got Mullen off the bench, and I'm not specifying any game. I'm just saying in general. These are the top 30 players that I would take.
I'm just doing that for mine.
Of course. So, and then I have Pono Davis, SMU Mustang, right here, baby.
God.
And he's played, I think, his best club rugby this year with Houston. They've given him quite a few starts. He's been good coming off the bench. His ball carrying is much better this year than it has been the last couple of years. That's been the biggest concern of his play is he's really been a one-trick pony. Up until this season.
SMU reference. We get it.
Dad jokes coming strong tonight, baby. So those are my 3 tight heads that I'm taking this summer.
Okay. I like the way you think, Rick, because that's what I liked about Anu is that he could go both ways. I had Pono Davis and Kofe just to get some youth involved there. I could see throwing a Mullen in there just for experience, in the England match. So that's where I would go with my selections there. Okay, let's move over to hooker. They took 3 hookers last year. So Rick, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Scott and myself.
Yeah, I'm taking 3. Taking Puffletti as a starter. And I guess what I would say is the top 15 would be like who I'd throw against England. Then Fawcett off the bench. I just think his experience, he's a little bit on the older end, so maybe you don't want to wear him out with 60 minutes. But if he's your 20-minute guy every game and he comes with all that experience off the bench, good fitness, he's gonna get around some of those tight 5 players when he's got the ball offensively. So I really like him coming off the bench. And then I think Shiloh Klein, you've got to get him more blooded on the international level because I do think he's probably maybe your hooker in 2031. Yeah. He's going to be older, but you can always roll with a little bit older hooker at that.
I mean, he's let's see, what's 25? He'll be 31. 31. That's not too old. That's not. That's in the range.
Yeah.
So
I really like him as that option in 2031 as your hooker. I'm thinking, okay, in 2031, what players am I thinking I would want to be out there? We need to get them some play time this summer.
Well, I would pick those 3 guys. I think those 3 guys are good. I find like McNulty just became designated for an Eagle, and we've kind of been wasting Caleb Geiger. In my opinion, I think he's been kind of wasting away.
We're so deep.
Yeah, it's tough. And to be honest, Caleb is one of those guys that can play prop or hooker. So
how good has Big Joe looked the last couple of matches? You're not taking him, but I mean, there's an injury before camp.
Well, yeah. So I mean, I would pick those guys, but I do think maybe Fawcett and McNulty might be interchangeable. The only reason being McNulty does have international experience. He has sevens experience. Like, if you didn't want to take Fawcett for whatever reason and give McNulty that 20 minutes, you could do that because, and then again, if you think about PNC, I would rather have Dylan Fawcett for PNC. So maybe you after an MLR season where he's a little bit older, again, have him on the training squad and then say, well, when PNC comes around, you're a 20-minute guy.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me tell you, Dylan Fawcett could go 80 minutes. That guy's.
Oh yeah, no, I know, but we're so stacked.
I got you. And I guess, yeah, for me, I went Piffaletti and Klein for sure, and then I'm looking at either Butch or Susene Fungi, again, a young kid. But don't forget, we might be up against. We have Japan and Fiji that we could, we're definitely playing Japan. We could be up against the likes of Fiji in August, September there. So you might have to dip into some of those, grizzled veterans like Dylan Fawcett in that second part of this campaign in 2025. So I'm doing Piffaletti and Klein for sure, and then kind of my swing guys are Sosene or Butch.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go with lock. This is the place where Scott has some concerns because we don't have like 6'8", 6'9" guys that are growing on trees in the United States. They're all playing basketball instead of rugby. So we're picking 4 locks. I'm going to pick first. I haven't gone first in a while, so I'm going to go CC Mahoney, Van Erten, because he's a young guy and he's got the size and he got a cap against Romania. Of course, Sam Gala, 6'4", he's played lock before and he's a good leader and he will be our future captain as an Eagle. And then Maufu, just for his size and age. Scott?
This is another one where I think Brandon Harvey at 6'6" and 22 years old, you give him a half against Spain. You select him as one of your 4, and you give him a good half against Spain. And if things get out of hand against England, fucking throw him in. He's 22. He's 6'6", so he's not that 6'8" that we really like, but again, you can't teach height. Why not start blooding him early? He's going to be a 2031 Eagle. You know what I mean? So if we can get him experience now, again, don't think he'll be right for PNC, but if we can offset giving him a half against Spain, depending on the England match, another half or the last 20 minutes, I think that's well worth the minutes, for what that juice we're gonna get from that squeeze eventually. So that would be my only thing is try and fit Brandon Harvey somewhere.
Or in that, who do you have at the other 3 spots then?
I would do Mahoney, Van Erten, and Gala. Keep it young. Sorry.
Yeah. By the way, I get it. By the way, Gala, I like him because he can play some back row too. So
yeah, he's another guy who can swing around if we need to. But again, that's the problem with Sam. No offense, he's on the shorter side. This is where I have trouble with the locks for us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, what do you got there, Rick?
All right, so I'm carrying 6 locks. So I'm only got 4 listed here, but you'll see what happens when I get to flanker. I'm actually thinking we need some experienced locks in here, so I'm going to bring Dolan and Jensen with Van Erten and Mafu. Dolan, this may be just a last hurrah. I'd like to see him play against England personally, and because he is 35 and he's probably aged out for 2027.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to need some leadership on that team, so it's not a walk in the park that he's not there. I think he's going to be kept in camp as long as possible in case there are injuries. I mean, he doesn't have that many miles on his tires. That's the thing is like his rugby mileage is much lower than, other guys his age. So he's rugby age wise, I'd still put him in like the 31, 32 age range.
But
he missed some caps because of COVID. Otherwise he would be close to knocking on the door for being the most capped Eagle. I do worry because he was out the first half of last season due to injury, his neck injury.
But I would put him
starting lock the entire season, hadn't he been? At least,
he has.
But I would put him in the Dylan Fawcett camp where I would say, and if I was them, bring them to camp. They're bringing the young guys along, and then when they start the camp for PNC, Dolan's one of your starters.
Yeah, could be.
But that's just what
I think. I think that my thing is though that Scott Lawrence loves the continuity. He loves having continuity, and so
here's the only thing though.
Scott, Rick, listen, hold on. That's the funny thing. It was a key phrase he used in that interview. That
I am on the Scott Lawrence coaching train.
He talks about yes, I know. He talks about continuity, and you'll see it, folks. He talks about the fact that will loom large in his selections is having partnerships and pairings that are working together in MLR
Jensen and
squads.
Campbell.
Well, here's the thing. I think you can get away with younger.
You spend the
locks.
night at Lawrence's house, don't you?
I think you can get away with younger locks if you look at how much experience we have at our entire back row. If you look at the guys, I'm gonna say the flankers and the eights are all interchangeable. They all have a ton of international experience. They all have a ton of MLR experience, and their experience varies.
Who are you going with in your back row?
Okay,
I would probably do Patty Ryan, Jamma, Reichert, and Bonasso. Because Bonasso didn't get to do the campaign last year, so let's get him some more international minutes. And that way you have a bunch of guys who have played together, played in the MLR, played together on the Eagles a while, and then you can get away with going a little bit younger lock pairings, in my opinion.
Okay.
And all those guys are interchangeable between 6, 7, and 8. So
okay. So you're only taking 4?
Hold on.
Back rowers?
And maybe Nasakeke.
Well,
only because Dallin likes saying his fucking name. How many times did he say that name in year one of MLR? It was we gotta look at that up. I mean, whew.
So this is where I'm gonna load up. I want to get more experience to some younger guys on back row, so I'm gonna go with 7 back rowers. Now, the reason I'm picking 7 is because, as I mentioned in the locks, I'm taking 6 locks. Mm-hmm. 2 of these guys are also going to play lock. So I had as my 6, 7, 8 as Ryan, Gola, and Banana Schultz. And then on the bench, Dam, Ali Khan, Bonasso, and Daniel. I think Daniel's made it very clear over the last year and a half of MLR play that he's up for the challenge. Ali Khan, I think, is a very young guy that he has a lot of confidence in. I believe he started every match so far for Anthem at 7 and has been one of the better back rowers.
I believe so.
And I think you're gonna get Dam in there and Gola because of the fact they can play lock and back row.
It's hard to say who you knock out of this from second row to back row. It's really hard.
So and I'll get into that, but I like your thought process with Gala, and I think you're right. I think you could see the pairing of Gala in the back row with Ali Khan, and then as a 6-7 partnership, right? That would be and that has the continuity that we talked about before. But here's what I went with. I went with Helu. I went with Poitevin, Johnson, and I originally said Daniel, but I think I might pull Ryan instead. While Daniel's great on defense, my concern is that he has a propensity to knock the ball on. And the reason, and I love the kid. I love him. He's a wrestler. I love the kid, but I've seen him a bit too frequently in contact, knock the ball on, or in looking for an offload, he just can't transition it. And I just think that's his lack of experience coming into play. He's only been playing rugby for, I think, three or 4 years. And so Patty Ryan has a much bigger depth and experience that you're going to count on, especially in those PNC matches. And
to me, I think Joe Johnston goes right to PNC. He's a little bit older. He could be a guy who would be 29, 30 going into 2027. So even though this is his first Eagles, practice squad, I think he has enough experience to crack up a PNC, believe it or not.
I also have that as Helu as well, that I think he may not play this summer. He may get more play this fall.
Yeah, and by the way, I think Poitevin and Johnson, you get them in there in those caps. In July, you get them capped and that locks them in. So now you've got depth that you need.
That's a great point about Poitevin. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, and that guy's phenomenal. He's I think he's a great player. I love the way.
Again, we can. It's like when I see this list, I keep changing my list.
Yeah, I know. Right.
Thinking about everything because even Emmanuel Albert, I'm like,
can we take 40?
Yeah.
Can we take 40 players? That would really help me out here.
Redlinghouse, we have a really good We have really good options.
Let's get to my favorite, the backs.
Okay.
Hold on. We will. But Scott, have you picked 2 8s yet? Or was that included with your?
That was included. We kind of just did the back
Okay.
row because they can all and even like Rick said, Bonasso.
Bonasso can play every single.
Jamma in an emergency could play lock. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Again, they're smaller, but they could do it.
Right. And I had as 8s because I said we're going to select 2 8s. I'm sticking to the rules, unlike other people that are in present company. I'm picking Fana'a and Bonasso is my 8s. So there we go. All right. So we're going to move to Rick's bread and butter. We're going to go to the backs, and we're going to start at scrum half. Rick, who you got? I know you've wet your pants up to this point, getting ready for this back half of selection.
I know. So this is where Rob and I had some disagreements off this this podcast about scrum half, and
it was fun reading those messages.
I have JP Smith starting.
Yes.
And
you are correct.
The Haas off the bench for me.
You are incorrect.
You've got Buckley, don't you? Don't.
No, I want Buckley. I want Buckley or McVie. Honestly, I think you take all 3.
Okay.
I think you take all 3. Yeah. Fuck it. Get rid of one of your extra fucking back rowers and get them in and flip a fucking coin. I
just don't see him moving away from the Haas. I don't know what it is about the Haas. Does he know something about the USA, rugby, executives that nobody else knows?
He doesn't. In my opinion, he doesn't fit what we're trying to do. So I don't understand why we don't move away.
He hasn't. He didn't with Gold, and I'm sure Gold brought him over, and he hasn't with Lawrence either. I don't think. I just him and McGinty work sort of, but everything else structurally.
But that's because McGinty. That's because Ruben kicks so much. McGinty doesn't have to kick. Like meaning like ball, but not kicking for post. I mean, like McGinty.
Oh yeah.
If you put in if you put in a McVeigh or a Buckley, then McGinty's going to be a little more inclined to kick a little bit, right? If it suits him. I'm not saying he just kicks willy nilly, but because the Haas is the box kicking king of the United States,
that's why I had to put him on there. I will honestly say I don't mind him, but I just don't think he fits what we're trying to do. And for that reason, personally, I wouldn't take him, but I think he's going to be on that roster.
I think you saved the Haas for PNC because he has experience. I think you go Smith, Buckley, McVie. And
you're going to take 3. Okay.
Fuck yeah. And get rid of one of your back rowers you were taking, and decide and say, okay, Spain is Buckley or Belgium is Buckley, McVie is Spain. And then it's a coin flip on whoever's in England. Whoever did better in their match.
I think you got to put. I think you got to put Ruben de Haas against England because England are a territory team. They play that.
I know. No, that's why he shouldn't. That's why he shouldn't play against England. That's why because that's what they fucking are good at, Rob. So why are we going to do exactly what they're fucking good at?
I understand. But you're going to pin yourself back if you're not able to put pressure on them and
guess what? When we box kick and they run right through us and score every time,
their centers are going to eat our centers alive if we try and play out of the back.
So
on counter kicks, they're going to kill us too. But I'd rather not play their own game plan against them and lose because you definitely know.
I know what you're saying. All right. You play a fast run and gun style. I gotcha. And that's that you go with your own identity and brand. I get you. I just think you need a guy like de Haas in there for his experience. We're picking 2. And then I went with McVie. And I like de Haas because I think he's the best athlete out of all of them. I mean, he is. I've seen him do some brilliant things in the loose. I don't
think you watch Connor Buckley enough.
Connor
Buckley on the defensive end. Probably the best out of those 3, and that's something you'd rarely say for a 9. I'm just saying.
I guess I'm just saying.
He smacks people.
I've seen de Haas do some amazing athletic.
Is 10 the position, the starting position that we know for a fact who's going to be starting? For sure.
They pretty much said it. Somebody said it, right? They said
Lawrence said it.
Yeah, didn't he say it? Didn't he say it with Rugby Wrap Up or something or somebody?
Yeah, he said he's dragging McGinty here.
Yeah,
for this summer. And I'm not going to disagree. Like he's got to be the starting 10 to qualify us.
So who are the 2 10s?
It's got to be McGinty and Hilsenbeck.
Yes, I think, and then in PNC, I would go McGinty and Carty.
Unfortunately, but yeah. Unless, like, I don't know, is Botha's not even in the group? I mean,
I believe he's injured.
When do you start to blood a young player and get them into the setup and get them on a tour where they're in a 30-man squad, they're training, preparing for the matches?
Santos.
When do you do that? Because you're trying to get. Think about
but maybe that's what you do. That's what you do now. Is you bring Santos now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is in my mind, I didn't think that McGinty would be available just because of release windows, right? But and he may not be in September.
He's one of the guys he's had pretty free range to come back over.
Yeah, they don't.
There's been times he's been left out. The problem is he's injury prone.
Yeah,
that's my biggest concern. He's got a lot of miles on the wheels,
and that's why maybe you take Hilsenbeck rather than Santos, as Hilsenbeck's a more experienced player. If there is an injury to McGinty,
well, that's the thing is like I said, you really need to win that Belgium game to then have your opportunity to kind of.
Then
I don't want to say mess around, but play around a little bit against Spain, and then England's England.
Yep, I agree.
So, do you bring a Santos at all?
You know what? I watched him play 15 for the U20s, and he was quite good at 15.
I'm going to say if you have DeHaas and JP Smith as your 2 9s, I wouldn't mind doing McGinty and Santos. And if McGinty gets hurt, fucking throw Santos in there and you have 2 experienced 9s to help him.
It's an option. Good. Interesting.
Okay.
I
had Carty and Pittman, but only because of age with Pittman, just to get him involved.
And we're getting him from France, and that's
one of those things is you get these guys from overseas and you want to get them locked in. So,
exactly.
Yeah, I could see that.
All right. What about centers? We got 4 centers, boys. Scott?
I think. Fuck. This is another one. I think you hold off on Bryce Campbell this time around. I think you're going to need him for PNC. I would like to give Akina his shot. I want to give Mark O'Keefe some more minutes. Stordy and Cruze. Akina, O'Keefe, Stordy, and Cruze.
Wow. You're just going to leave off the best center?
Yeah. PNC. Save him for PNC.
Okay.
My only issue with O'Keefe is he doesn't play center for his team. He plays wing.
I know, but here's the thing: he's a better center.
I know he can play center.
He is a better center. I don't like him on the wing. I don't like him on the wing. I never liked him on the wing. Rooney really didn't play him on the wing. But I don't coach the Hounds.
He played for 2 seasons. All right, Rick, what do you got? Centers.
Okay, I've got Lopetti, Stordy, Bisog, and I'm going to start O'Keefe on the wing, but he is your 4th center in case S happens with the other 3.
Okay. So I had Lopetti, I had Junior Nafa, Stordy, and I bring in Bryce Campbell for the experience, for the leadership.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you bring, obviously Bryce is in camp, but you don't have to. You don't have to have him on the squad for this round.
I take him. I take him.
I think you got to give Campbell man. He's gotten beat to hell. He gets beat to hell every year. I think he gives him the break.
I think you need the break to get him to PNC where you're really going to need him.
And that could be like he's played all 8. Played all 8 games for the Hounds, and he's logged probably over 600 minutes.
And that's like when we're talking about Jesus Christ, I just lost my train of thought. I had it. And then when we talk about wing, I would say the same thing about Nate Osberger. He's another guy who you bring into camp, you hold him out to PNC. He has a lot of road miles. He takes a lot of hits, and he gives a lot of hits. And he's a spark plug, and you want him in your PNC. But right now, we don't need to waste those miles for the for
So
this
who are
3-game
your wings?
stretch.
Who are your wings?
I like Ryan James, Mooneyham, Dyer. Yeah,
Okay.
and then and like you said, O'Keefe can play wing if you need to, and I had him in my centers.
I've
Okay.
got Dyer, O'Keefe as the starting wing and your extra center, and Noah Brown.
I like Noah Brown. I like
think
Rufus
this is a
McLean too.
Great opportunity for Brown.
Okay, and that's where I went. I went with Augsburger when we're talking about creating, cohesion. I went with Augsburger, with Brown, Mooneyham, and McLean.
Oh, four
wings.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Those are my wings.
I think Footy should get a shot, but I think he gets left out because of everybody else, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
He's another guy.
A lot of competition at this position.
Yeah, no, and I just wish he could get more competition minutes. Internationally, I think he would round out really well. But
all right,
it's tough.
Now we're at fullback.
If you don't pick the top two, you have to have, especially because you're going in against an England team who's going to kick.
Yeah,
you have to have the guys who have the experience. So unfortunately, I think all the young guys are out. So you're picking Wilson and Fricker. That's it. Like you can't play around that.
I'm going Fricker. I think he could take the high ball well.
Mm-hmm.
He's got unbelievable courage in the air. He's got a good vision, good pace. I like him most at 15 rather than I think he's been playing a bit of wing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going with Schumacher because I think you got to get a young 15 in there. And that
you do, but again, I think against England, who is going to kick against us.
Yeah,
you're going to need two guys who really. No, but I think you're going to need two guys to really hold that. And then you have return to play guys. You got Big Joe, Tommaso Boni, and hold on, I can't see my Testimony Tuanga. So, again, you have a good hooker, a good flanker, and a good center who you're going to throw in the mix if they're healthy enough.
Yeah. Rick, who you got? Who did you take at your fullback?
Only one fullback, Wilson. I believe you could put O'Keefe or Storty back there and be okay.
And if you had taken Dyer,
I've taken 30. You've taken 35 players, I swear.
I know, but I'm saying if you take Dyer, he could also fit that bill too.
That's true. Dyer could play at fullback. Yeah. With the Sevens experience under the ball.
I'm just not a fan of. I'm not a fan of Mitch Wilson back there. I like him better at wing.
I do too, but he's kicking, and I don't know. I think you got that ability to kick for points, and he's shown that he can play fullback at a reasonably high level, at least for the summer. I'd like to see Fricker in the fall, but we just don't have a fullback. This has been my big question, and as
we don't have a true fullback.
Yeah, we don't know what it takes, right. And I just don't see that guy.
I always liked Matina back there, and unfortunately, he's just a little too old and obviously, hung up the boots. But he was good back there in his.
I would have liked to see a guy like Mooneyham, really learn the trade and become a fullback, and it just has not happened. Ryan James, a guy like that.
I don't think Mooneyham's as good in the air.
But that's what I'm saying is it's a trade you got to learn that you don't really learn at wing.
If Nate was 6 inches taller, he'd be
right. If Nate was 6 inches taller, I'd put it back there in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
Right.
But so you can't coach height. So,
right. So there you go, folks. You've got some pretty solid perspective on this 30-man, or in some cases 35-man roster. But I get where Scott's going because he was thinking big picture, not just about these 3 matches here in July, but also thinking about what then you would do when you have a few more weeks under your belt to train together as a larger squad, and what that squad looks like for when.
And also, mine allows for more injury.
Right.
If you take 35 players, yeah.
Yeah. Well, but the point is that what you named your 30-man squad in July is going to be different than what you name to your 30-man squad come PNC.
Oh yeah. And, absolutely.
That definitely will make a difference. So there you have it, folks. You got it from the guys who think they know a lot, but really.
We'll see how close we are. I know I won't be. I know I understand what Scott Lawrence does. I understand I just like to go a different way sometimes. But it's
and that's
it's
it. That was the pointer, Scott, is that this wasn't what we think Scott will do, folks.
Yeah.
This is what we would do. And so, with more time, I think we put together a 15 or a starting 23 against, it'd be fun to put it together against a team like England, because obviously that's the marquee match. Well,
I guess when they cut it down to 30, we can come back and have another episode.
Yep, but that's a good idea.
At this point, I think it's done and dusted, and we picked our 30 or 35 if you're me. But I appreciate it, guys. This is episode 206
Always
of the Rugby Rant. Yeah, Rick,
and
thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, and don't forget to join us at Reggie's on November 1st.
Yeah, that's only 7 months away, so let's promo it now. Rob, the king of
promotion. Put it on your calendar.
Yeah. But yeah, check us out at Reggie's. Check us out. I should be in DC for the doubleheader. And if you're going out to Charlotte, let us know.
Hey,
but
check
guys,
out rugbyrant.com. Some of us actually write on it. It's pretty good.
Yeah. What are you trying to say? Rob hasn't done an article.
No self-promotion at all.
Rob hasn't done an article in 4 months. Is that what you're trying to say?
Rob's been busy with wrestling for the last 4 months.
Not like to bust his chops. But anyway, guys,
and doing interviews.
No, you're doing a great. You're doing a great job with content, Rob. I'm the big guy, Scott Farrar, Rob the Hammer Hammerschmidt, our buddy Rick Collins, and we will see you guys next week.